cause I be bustin' the dope moves. But the problem stay the same. How you riding for the cash when you ain't riding in my lane? Shorty all about the paper, so your mixture look the same. In the game I play the lane like Eddie Kane, cause I be bustin' the dope moves.
I just want you to study the Buddhism era, where I think that's how we got conquered anyway. Look up the Buddhism era. One of the kings was named King Jaffe Joe, and then go follow who was before him and who was after him, and you'll figure out that Buddhism once had a strong lock on not this side of the world, but the other.
I can believe that.
Big stronghold. Most of these places,
I think
other
it's
than
the fourth
Africa,
biggest religion on earth today.
but they actually conquered at one point and then tried to be peaceful, and the warriors came and got them.
Oh, you're saying that's what's in the books?
But just look up King Jaffe Joe and look up stuff from there, and you'll realize that it was real big, bro. It was real big.
And this is what you do. You look up what the definition of an atheist is, so you can realize that an atheist ain't connected to none of that shit.
I'm actually very versed in religion, and to me, that's one of them.
Atheism is not a religion because you don't believe in none of that shit. It's behind your imagination.
They do the same thing as religious folks, though. So there you go.
What are you talking about? Human nature.
Atheism.
No, you're talking about what humans do. Yeah, humans do a whole lot of things.
Exactly, and atheists do too.
Agreed. But atheists don't believe. It's about belief. You don't believe what y'all believe.
Until somebody crack their head and they're gonna go like anybody else.
Irregardless.
And then they're gonna start praying to God at that point.
So because
I'm be
why? If I'm gonna die anyway, what do it matter if I pray?
You're gonna be like, God, I never knew if you existed or not.
Why do I have to respond to terror like that because you say so?
I'm just telling you what atheists do because they're only human, right? So
you're saying all
something
humans,
bad happens,
so no human never told a nigga fuck you.
Like you, they're gonna be praying to melanin or whatever.
But what I'm asking you two questions. So why? So nobody never got killed in life and said fuck you, nigga, squeeze that shit. That ain't never happened.
Some niggas ain't got time to pray to God. Some cats
I'm
ain't
talking
got
about
time
people
for that.
who got time, who see the barrel of the gun, and the nigga say get that shit up, and they say fuck that nigga shooting. Ain't nobody never died like that.
Yeah, some niggas ruthless. Some niggas don't got time for it.
What I'm saying is if everybody don't have to react to fear and start praying to somebody, if everybody don't have to react to that, why are you saying atheists going to?
Because I don't believe in atheists. That's why I don't believe in atheists.
That's your personal belief.
Yeah, I believe they pray to God like anybody else.
But that's your personal belief. You can't. You have no evidence.
I'm not Christian. I'm not gonna tell you on Judgment Day. I'm telling you.
That's what you're saying. You're saying on the day in which I'm about to die,
which is judgment, yes.
Exactly. So atheists is gonna start praying to some God that they claim they don't believe in. That's what you're saying.
Don't you don't believe in Judgment Day? Yeah, that's judgment.
How?
Right?
Judgment Day is according to what you calling it, is the day you die.
Yeah.
Everybody dies. How I don't believe in death? I don't have to believe in God because I believe in death. Death is a fact. Death has been proven. Show me where God has been proven.
For sure.
You can't. People in religions will tell you in their book right here. But now you have to believe that the book is actually the word of God. I choose not to believe that. I'll even go beyond that. Not only do I believe God has never talked to none of you motherfuckers, I also have no evidence to believe that there is a God. That don't mean there ain't. I can be wrong.
There you go.
But I've been saying that the whole time. Atheists say they don't know. What do I don't know mean?
But you got a belief.
No, I don't.
You keep acting like you don't.
No, I don't. Because the reason why I can't believe...
There's no difference between somebody praying to Jesus and you praying to melanin.
But that's where you mistaken me with that's where you mistaken me with a religious person. You saying that I pray to melanin. That's your own interjection. You have never heard me say I do that, and you have never seen me do it. So
your mind think that...
No, my mind rationalizes what people call God as melanin. That's what my mind does. my mind rationalizes when somebody uses the word God. I hear melanin if you're talking about the creator of all living things.
I mean, African people, they probably don't consider themselves Buddhists, but I'm sure they meditate and get them same
Yeah,
answers.
but meditation is not exclusive to Buddhism.
It's not at all.
Exactly. So, again, those two things don't get nah.
But it's all, to me, it's all the same thing.
Yeah,
Just like
that's your
Indians do it
opinion
and
of
everybody else do it.
All
Even
right.
all that prayer from Islam, it's the same freaking thing.
It's not, because they praying to Allah.
Yeah, they got a face to it, or not a face, but an idea to it.
You right, a face to it. It don't have to be a literal face.
Yeah.
They got a name on it. It talked to them. It gave them laws and rules. It told them what it was going to do if they didn't listen to those laws and rules. It told them the story of the beginning of the universe and about the world that's below that you don't want to go to. It did all that.
And some worship a peacock.
Exactly.
The same peacock I seen when I took the smoked that what and went to the other world. That I can see that too. I seen it all, bro. This is what you
I'm just saying, but I'm not disputing you. I am understanding you. You're saying,
and I always ask you to do things like if you ever got DMT, you would see this whole place a lot different, dog.
I agree, because that's a mind-altering narcotic.
Well, reality slip, yeah.
So what I'm saying is, I bet that if you took a mind-altering drug, you start seeing shit differently. I totally believe that.
But the way that it happens, you know, like you know.
But the point I'm pointing out to you is, you did all that. You saw all that. You experienced.
Like when Jesus was like the moon spinning.
You experienced all that,
else, bro.
For all that you experienced, nothing proved God is real. That's my point.
I seen Baphomet, but no, I ain't see the boy.
Or you seen with something else depicted to be Baphomet and it looked the same to you. You don't know what you saw was. You saw it, but you don't know who it was. Did you ask him, is your name Baphomet? How do you know that's Baphomet? Because
it look like it.
Oh, exactly.
What is mine?
Exactly.
Or my mind or whatever.
Exactly. If the image of Baphomet is in your head for you to see some creature that should not exist and call it what it is, that means you got it from somewhere else, brother.
I mean, I couldn't make it. It looked like a kaleidoscope, but it's the same shape nonetheless.
I'm with you. I'm just saying, nothing that we discussed tonight, from evolution to race to religion to Buddhism to laws to moral conduct and code, all that is cool, and I'm willing to exist that all these things is in our world. But none of them prove that there is a God. So atheists lack the evidence that we need. We're a small group of people who believe there's not enough evidence on earth to prove there's a God. There's not. That's the truth. Some people don't want to stick to that truth. Some people it's too hard for them.
Your local reverend acts like you see him every day.
So he's the blasphemer. He's the one lying to his people. He found the con. People love this theory of a God. Therefore, when you can introduce it to them in ways that make sense to them, they become religious. And what does the religious mind do? Show up, give money, praise, all that shit.
Yeah.
It's the same with I can't say Buddhism because Buddhism is not connected to any gods or deities. So I can't shit on Buddhism like that. It's a culture.
I'm glad you can't shit on Buddhism because nobody really can. But I appreciate at least the fact you being honest about it.
Man, I've been honest on all these joints. You just don't accept it. Sometimes the way I explain it, you can't accept it. But if we can come from a single-cell organism or from a cell in general, why the fuck can't we come from another mammal? It's not that hard to understand.
It's harder for me, though, bro.
Not
if I could, I would, but I can't.
But you do understand. You understand the difference between a polar bear and a grizzly bear. You understand the difference between a crocodile and an alligator. You understand the difference between white people and black people.
Yes, I do.
So now take the religious aspect of God made you in his image out of the picture, and what will you have? Other versions of you, just like they have. And not only other versions, archaic versions of you. Versions of you that predate you.
If you could create your own type of theory and stay away from that other stuff.
But I'm not going to do that because I would need evidence for my theory to be a scientific theory. We talked about that earlier. The difference between a theory
about monkeys and men.
But you can't do it, bro. But you can. Because
you're just talking about regular mammals. Right?
But that's what we're talking about. They're all mammals. We talking about the different stages they went through to get to be each version of mammal they are. Just like the elephant. He has archaic ancestors. Mammoths, mastodons, versions. I'm saying, you do too. You have versions of an archaic ancestor that you come from.
I do believe that.
Okay, so what I'm telling you is those archaic ancestors, came from apes. From monkeys. Yes, the first apes ever, before us, before gorillas, before Homo habilis, before Homo erectus, before Lucy, before Proconsul, before all of these apes, before Giganticus blackie, the largest ape that ever lived, before all of them, there was the first apes, and they evolved from monkeys. Not us, not Blackie, not Lucy, not Homo habilis, not Homo erectus. Those creatures evolved from themselves, from each other. Evolution is something that takes place with a child. The adult rhino will never turn into anything else, but rhinos have archaic ancestors in which they evolved from. We do too. Our archaic ancestors evolved from archaic apes, and those archaic apes evolved from archaic monkeys. It's not hard to understand, just like cats. From the smallest house cat to the largest fucking lion or tiger that's ever, or smilodon that's ever existed. They all arrived from the first cats. The first felines ever, before the saber-tooth era. And all these cats come from the first mammals if you go back far enough. So no, human beings as far as us, we do not come from monkeys. You have to go through billions of years or millions of years of evolution of other creatures before you get to an organism that's as complex as us. We're the best version of what was coming. One leads to another, leads to 2 more, leads to 4 more, leads to 8 more, leads to 10 more. Because when you put these creatures in different situations, they change. Now, what happens when the ones that change go to other places and mix with other ones? This is evolution. What happens when they just go to another place in which they wasn't in before? This is evolution. Things changing under different circumstances, just like planets. You give different gases to space materials and you get different sized planets, and planets that are made up of different chemicals. Hydrogen giant, gas giant. Earth is mostly water. So that's evolution, Paco. Everything evolved. We can't prove that nothing that we consider alive didn't evolve. That's why some suns are bigger than other suns, because they have more chemicals to compound on. All suns are not the same size. It's the same concept here. All people aren't the same color. The thing that we don't understand is these stories are created when ain't no other people around. It's only us. So we don't know. I'm just saying, it's not hard. It's just not hard to understand. You're not no different than any other animal. You're really not, except for the way you live, the way you get around.
The way you can think, the way you put your
but who says that? But no, but it's animals, it's creatures. That's what I'm saying to you. You never listen. Apes got opposable thumbs, Paco. All apes.
I know they do.
All right, so that's why we all apes. That's part of why we all apes. All apes hold their babies for 8 to 9 months. All apes are mammals.
I mean, I've seen a monkey riding a spaceship before.
But a monkey is not an ape. A monkey is a primate. That's where apes and monkeys share relatedness. But an ape is not a monkey. Almost every monkey on Earth that I'm aware of has a tail. Apes don't have tails. Apes walk on twos. Some monkeys can walk on twos for short periods of time. When you and another animal, it's like the okapi and the giraffe. They don't look nothing alike. But of all the animals on Earth, the okapi is the most closely related to the giraffe. Natural selection. I mean, they rare. They rare as shit. They rare as hell. Okapis is mad rare. But
where they at?
They in Africa. Only place on Earth they live. Emu, rhea, ostrich, flightless birds, different kinds of penguins. You got different types of penguins because different penguins or archaic ancestors of penguins went in different places. Same thing with the lion. The archaic ancestor goes to America. The archaic ancestor goes into Asia and he goes into Africa. And he evolves different ways in all three of these places. So the American lion and the African lion are not the same. Just like white people and black people aren't the same. Because white people was in one condition and mixed of one group of people, while black people is a wide term that we use for people who come from black folks. So black, it could be mixed with other things, but you can look and see they're primarily black. Or look at their mother, or look at their father and see that the skin is still dark. That dark skin don't come from any other people. So what I'm saying to you is evolution is solid, cuz natural selection is what Darwin is talking about. The giraffe's neck is long so he could get to the leaves at the top of the tree. The giraffes who couldn't get to the leaves at the top of the trees ate less food. That's natural selection, survival of the fittest.
I don't know how you're trying to add all these stuff in with Darwinism, like I said, but...
Because Darwinism is just natural selection.
I mean, that's common sense. They ain't got nothing to do with no damn Darwin.
But that's what Darwin was saying. People mix the fact that he was a racist with the fact of he used evolution, which was a fact. Scientific fact, or scientific theory, whatever you want to call it. He used that and they said, well, why do some animals do this and other animals do that? Why all animals ain't got the same strength? Why all animals?
In his day, he was pretty crazy. And then
I mean, he was racist, but he's not the only person.
It wasn't even him.
He's not even the first person. I say he's not even the only person who came up with that, who went in on natural selection.
He was a lunatic. Like they figured out I think who else was a lunatic back in their day? Well, Einstein, lunatic.
Charles Darwin was a racist.
At least Einstein had the right formulas and stuff, but Bull didn't.
But Darwin's theory ain't been proved wrong though.
I think it is, man.
Natural selection has not been proved wrong though.
That's common sense. I'm talking about the ape, the man. That right
yeah,
there.
but man is an ape by definition.
That's the Darwinism chart.
Paco, but that's not Darwin. That's evolution, which predates Darwin. Darwin based his theory off of evolution.
I don't know why you're trying to equate a definition. I mean, a word like evolution with Darwin.
Because it's called natural. It's called evolution by natural selection. His premise is based off the premise that evolution is right. If evolution is right.
So because the giraffe neck long to Darwin made that too?
No, he ain't saying, he's not saying he made anything. No, that's natural selection. Darwin was the person who introduced that idea. You can call it common sense 100 or 1,000 years later. That's fine. You can do that.
His chart is a monkey turning into a man.
Yeah, but you're making it as simple you're making it as simple as the picture. But you're making it as simple as the picture, because evolution says the same thing he's saying. He's telling you why certain organisms are bigger, stronger,
he's disrespecting the word evolution. That's all I'm
telling you. He's not, man. You can't necessarily say that. All right, so
his chart is a monkey turning into a man, bro.
Yeah, but you talking about the visual aspect of it. We're not children. The picture is not telling the story.
The picture worth 1,000 words,
No, it's not. You have to read the 1,000 words. The 1,000 words states that the difference between gorillas and fucking, I don't know, chimpanzees is the fact that when gorillas diverged from the common ancestor of chimpanzees, gorillas...
So evolution ain't the missing link. Where the missing link at?
But there is no single missing link for any one creature. All of these creatures... All right, listen, I'm going to try to explain it one last time easily. I'm going to try, and I'm going to use my new joint. And it's the first time y'all going to hear this. I want y'all to hear this. It's called evolution is like cells. I start off with 10 identical cells. I put these 10 cells, and these 10 cells all have 10 cells come from them. And I put each of those 10 cells in 10 different places. After those 10 cells go into 10 different places, now the cells that are in other places have different colored dots on them. Now these dots signify a mutation or a change that is different from the original cell in which they were. Now, each one of those 10 cells from each joint that went out, from each cell that went out, y'all, goes 10 more places. And then the color changes. Sometimes red turns to crimson. Sometimes green turns to light green. Dark blue turns to sky blue.
So why are these dots appearing?
Because the cells are moving. Because the cells are moving, y'all. Just like the creatures and organisms. If a creature comes from one place, I'll run it down one more time. Let's say a small rodent-like mammal goes to Africa. This is the story, y'all. I want y'all to hear this. This is the story. A small rodent-like mammal goes to Africa, and he finds an abundance of fruit in the trees. He sees it. He sees an abundance of fruit in the trees. So now for the next however many years, y'all, he finds ways to climb these trees and get this fruit. Now this small mammal that climbed the trees and got the fruit, I want y'all to understand this is not the only small mammal on the earth, and this is not the only thing small mammals... Hold on, let me finish. This is not the only small mammal on earth, and this is not the only thing small mammals are doing.
Monkeys used to, monkeys can drive spaceship. I know this stuff.
So can I finish? The mammal goes in the tree to get the fruit. Because he's living a certain way, because he's getting a different type of food. He's living a different way. Remember, he used to crawl on the ground and eat his food on the ground. And now he's migrated to a place where there's fruit in the trees. It don't even have to be Africa. It can be wherever y'all want it to be for the sake of this argument. He climbs in these trees to get the fruit. Because he's now climbing in the trees, he's living a different way than he used to live before. Because he's eating this fruit out of the trees, he's getting a different form of chemicals and nutrients than he was getting before. So what happens is he starts to change. He doesn't change. His children hold...
with webs on their face.
Listen, y'all, he starts to change. Not him per se, but his children hold genetic differences from him. This is called evolution. When things change because of their situation, what they eat and how they get to it.
I dropped the knowledge on the monkeys, though. I said the lemur monkeys are the closest to the human DNA.
That's not true. It's a chimpanzee. That's not true. It's a chimpanzee. Chimpanzees, again, y'all, chimpanzees and bonobos, man, what look more like a person, y'all? A lemur or a chimpanzee?
Don't matter. It look like anything.
Okay, man. Do lemurs, all right, let's ask them this. Do lemurs have do all lemurs have opposable thumbs? Do all lemurs?
I would say so.
Do all lemurs hold their babies for 8 to 9 months? No.
I would say so.
No.
Maybe not. I would say so, though.
All chimpanzees do. Chimpanzees have the same exact birth length as us.
But that don't got nothing to do with them.
So wait. Out of all the different amount of times in which animals can reproduce, the fact that everything that they classify as an ape takes 8 to 9 months to have a child, that doesn't strike you as odd? that every organism on Earth that takes 8 to 9 months to procreate one baby, 2 is rare. They call that an ape. There are no other animals in the animal kingdom who their whole species follows that exact law.
Well, how long monkeys do it? How long monkeys?
Not 8 to 9 months. Because apes evolved from monkeys. Monkeys are not apes. Anything that is still a monkey always stayed a monkey and never turned into an ape. Therefore, it does not have to follow the biology of an ape. Apes follow the same biology. All apes have, even if you can have a different size nose, you can have a different size brain, you can have different size eyes. We just talked about human beings having different size skulls. Caucasoid skull, Mongoloid skull, Negroid skull. We just talked about human beings of the same species having different size skulls. But the genetics is what we're talking about. Things that are biologically the same. And there are things that are biologically different. Like felids. How many litters of kittens can a cat have in 1 year? And how many babies can a human have in 1 year? Different. We know we're not that closely related to cats, even though we're both mammals. Therefore, saying we both left the evolutionary tree when mammals left. We're all a part of that group. We're all connected that way. Even though the first mammal is not a human and the first mammal is not a cat, we're still related to them in the mammalia family. That's the biology. Mammal meaning you have your baby whole. Every animal that has its baby whole comes from the original mammals. The original mammal is not one organism, because we already said that organisms evolve differently in different places. So once mammals arrive, there are multiple types of mammals popping up around the world at different times. All of these mammals go into the evolution of the future mammals. Some turn into felids, some turn into canids, some stay in the water, like whales. Whales are mammals. They have whole births. Sharks are fish. They have eggs.
Let me ask you something. When a gorilla have a baby, like, what, they just let the extension cord fall out? I mean, the umbilical cord, they just make it, they just
no, they
fall
rip
out?
it. They chew it away. So yes, they have an umbilical cord as well. They have opposable thumbs. They have every organ that you have in the same exact place. They grow hair the same exact way out of a follicle just like yours. Even though it's not texturally like yours, even though there's genetic differences in it, it grows the exact same way your hair grows. It also grays when it turns old, just like you. They live in communities, just like you. They have forms of communication, just like you.
I think kind of go. I know.
So my point is, they're more like you than any other creature on Earth. Because
put me down, bro.
Because of all the animals who was really like you, they're gone. You outcompeted them. And the ones that mixed with you, they got swallowed up into your genes. Now the only place they live is within certain members of you. Now all animals ain't even compatible like that. Gorillas can't breed with orangutans. There's never been a case where we know of anything like that. So some things can come from the same organisms and be far apart from each other for so long that they can't breed with each other. Just like a human can't have a baby with a chimpanzee. You couldn't have a baby with Homo habilis probably. All Homo sapien and Homo sapien sapien, or modern day human and Neanderthal relationships do not result in positive birth. Nigga, we populate. Just like rats. Look how many times rats can have, or rodents can have babies in 1 year.
Okay.
But all rodents gotta follow that. That's why they rodents. Just like all apes follow that same biology we follow. We all work the same even though we look different. Because we left from an evolutionary path from an archaic ancestor at different times. They left 8 million years ago. Or whatever it was. Yeah, gorillas left 8 million years ago from an archaic ancestor that we all share. Our oldest ancestors left what, 3-4 million years ago? Homo habilis, he's the first one that we are sure is part of our gene pool. Because just like there were other versions of Homo genus around with us that were not us, it's the same thing with him. Same thing with Lucy. Lucy could have been something else that's not us. Her species could have died with her. The first one we're sure that we're related to is Homo habilis. Because him using tools made him more effective. Him being more effective means he eats more. Him eating more means he has more kids because he lives longer.
Well, tell me we're related to him at all.
It means that you're related to him so millions of years ago, because that's how long he's been gone. See,
You use a hammer?
no. What I'm saying is your ancestors come from him. That's how it works. Your ancestors, your archaic ancestors that are now extinct, they come from archaic ancestors who come from him. What we learned this evening is that Pac is an atheist. I'm gonna take that with me, man.
You classifying the shit out of me. Every time. I'm Christian one day.
I'm happy that I learned that.
I'm Muslim the next day. I'm Moor. I'm Hebrew.
Cultures don't have nothing to do with religions. You're not religious. You don't believe in God. You a Buddhist.
I do kind of believe in all, in the one, the source. I do.
Yeah, but you don't believe in no
But
gods.
it's not going to say it in a definition because that's not what it is.
You
But
don't believe in no gods and no deities. Therefore, you're not religious.
you could say that. I claim to be spiritual.
Yeah, spirituality ain't religion.
It's not.
Yeah.
I think everybody got to get down with the get down, though. Buddhism, bro.
Yeah, but I don't see that as a religion no more.
I mean, most people don't, but you still got them two-way people.
I think it's religious in the aspect that a lot of people follow it.
Yeah, that's kind of why I'm calling it that.
I don't think it has no religious. Oh yeah, God said that if you don't follow the Buddha, you going to hell.
Nah.
You
can follow your own Buddha. That's the point.
Exactly. Now that right there seems like a way of life, not a religion.
Yeah.
That is something I can respect. I can't respect no. If you don't get on your knees and pray, God don't love you and you going to burn in Hades. Nah. Nah, you ain't gonna give me that shit.
7 levels. Yeah.
7 levels. Princes of hell and
Yep.
one love money. Who changed society technology-wise. They the motherfuckers who ain't gonna argue with no Christian that's going to a book that they can't prove the book is true. Because they understand rationality and irrationality. Irrationality is to believe something is true because you believe in it. That's irrational.
Yeah, them people out.
Rational is to believe something because you can prove it. Or because you can prove part of it. Being able to prove part of it is better than being able to prove none of it.
I mean, I don't believe in what they believe,
But I can actually go on the religion shit. You proved to me today that you're not a theist.
well, that's good because you keep accusing like in the Bible and stuff.
I think that you take some of your, theories on who people are from religious books. I believe that. Am I right?
I think my way. Yeah, but my way more like scientific. It's not.
Scientific is not scientific. Why not believe what science tells you?
I think about the people who follow religion, which is the Moors, and I think most of them people you're talking about are different sects of them.
But the Moors ain't the only people who follow religion. So now you're singling on which religion you believe is the correct one.
Yeah, but it seemed like they had a lot of them, and they've made a lot of them.
None of them is really right.
All that Abrahamic stuff?
None of them at all. None of the religions at all is correct. So stay away from all of them. Start there. Then
For sure.
We are. It's not. This shit is easy, and I'm telling you, science can be used for wrong. It's not particular.
Most of the time it is.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you, but that's because of whose hands it's in.
Yeah.
Moral of the story is Pac is not religious. D. Paco is not religious.
Thank you. I've been telling you that.
I understand that. Buddhists don't have nothing to do with gods or deities or religion. It's more of a culture, even if people call it a religion. And he don't align himself with no gods that he would care to share.
Nah, I don't fuck with Moloch and them niggas. No.
He did not. He stayed away from all that stuff. Only thing I think Paco know in the back of his mind after today, I proved to him evolution is real.
And then I grew up in the Catholic, school. Mother Mary, why you leaving out Mother Mary, bro?
Mary who? Magdalene? Mary?
Yeah.
Because these people ain't real.
Yeah, they ain't.
Jesus?
It definitely ain't. Yeah, Jesus, man. That's how I grew up, cuz. Yeah, Jesus, man. Real smoke. Nah, I couldn't believe in that when I was 6 years old. I couldn't even believe that when I was 6, bro.
Man, like I said, man, I think me and you agree. Ain't none of that stuff. That's all I was telling you here, dude.
But you get me because I do believe in the source, and that's pretty much.
Nah, but you don't because
what it is.
You ain't identifying who that person is.
Nah.
Go ahead. Exactly. So you don't. There is no. You saying the same thing everybody else saying. It's
pretty much.
It's possible that there is one. Nobody who's saying that they don't believe there is one is saying that it's not possible.
I feel as though if I see a room full of atheists, I'm leaving. That's how I feel though.
You got a predetermination.
I can deal with one or two of you niggas, but.
Because you think you know who they
are.
You think you know who the atheists are.
I do think I know who they is, man.
But you don't. You thought they were Satanists.
They don't believe in the source. They don't believe in nothing.
No, that's not the case. They only believe in what they have evidence of.
So they believe in material things that's outside of you.
Physical, yeah.
Mostly.
It don't have to be a material, but it has to be physical, tangible evidence. They ain't gonna take nobody's word for it. They ain't gonna jump in the boat with nobody's religions or nobody's theology. They're not gonna do none of that. They're not gonna say because it makes sense in a rational or logic aspect. If you don't have the facts behind what you believe, they're not gonna believe it. I like that.
Oh yeah.
I like that a lot.
I mean, it works. That theory, it's okay.
That's what an atheist believes.
I just don't believe that.
That's by definition.
I know what you're saying, but I see where the path that I've seen a lot of atheists take after a while, and the way they talk is kind of.
Paco, again.
That's what I'm saying.
There's more religious people. It's because of what you know.
It's some like atheists. They try to believe in what you just said, that they don't believe in nothing and try to be humble people and good people and act like you don't need no laws or nothing just to be a good dude. But
who says that you need God to need laws? Once you have a demand,
you need laws.
Nobody said you didn't. But what do God have to do with laws? Nothing. You making a correlation that don't exist.
No, I know.
So that's
I know that.
Saying. God don't have nothing to do with laws. Yes, we need laws. Yes, we need rules and regulations. Agreed. But that don't prove there's a God. Just because somebody put laws in with God.
Facts.
And that's all I'm saying. There's no tangible reason that anybody you couldn't come up with one yourself. You can't come up with nothing that proves no God. So until you have proof to believe it, it's crazy. To believe
I'm not an all-encompassing person, no. I ain't got no proof for that.
God of any sort. What you doing is taking a word out of his term. You're using it in your own way. Anything that's not the definition of God is not really what they mean. If you want to go back to a particular time when God meant something else, if you don't mean what they meant back then or you don't mean what they mean today, then you ain't talking about no God. You could be talking about.
I mean, I believe in small G's too, but that's just me.
What is it?
Small G's and not the big guy. Just the small G's, not the capital G.
I'm lost.
The capital G mean the guys you're talking about.
Okay.
Small G is human.
So
A human guy, a smart human, a guy that creates things and shit.
Ruler, king.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, now, if we say for the sake of argument that's true, there is a small G as you called it. Is he the God of everything or everybody?
No, that's what I'm saying. No.
Okay, so, I mean, I guess, again, I don't think that's the definition, but if that's the way you using it. People use that word. It's like...
Cause it's hard to prove the big G. I don't think nobody ever did or can.
Okay, so, again, the question would be, if nobody did or can, why would you believe in it? That's the question you have to ask people who say, yeah, I believe in God. If nobody can demonstrate God as a reality, why do you believe in it? See, because you working off of faith. You're working off of commonality.
I'm not.
I'm not
saying
you already told me you don't believe in God. But religious people, they believe in God because either they was taught to, told to, or because everybody else is doing it, or because it makes them feel good. They don't have any real evidence. Oh, why do you believe that these other archaic humans exist when I can't see them today? Because I have evidence of them. People all across the world, from different parts of the world, who are different races, who lived at different times in the world, have found different archaic humans. That's the only reason I believe in it, because people have found it.
To be honest, I think we just selling God's body. I mean, everything looks like that's the case.
But again, that would be somebody's interpretation of God.
That's my interpretation. Another interpretation of mine, yeah.
And that's just as crazy as me believing that melanin is God.
I mean, sun got a nucleus, we got electrons, and, you know what I mean? What the other one's called? Electrons, neutrons,
right.
And positrons or something? I forgot the last one.
Positron, negatron. But it don't, I understand.
And that same thing is inside you, and inside that, the same thing is there, and then inside that, the same thing is there, and inside that, the same thing is there.
You saying what I said earlier?
Will my cells know that I'm running, that I'm the one carrying them? No. Is it inside me? Yes. And is it following the same patterns of the universe? Yes.
But what I'm saying is, again, but again, that brings you back to what I told you before, because everything starts with the cell. When you talking about a multi-cell organism, which is all animals that we be talking about, they all multi-cell organisms. Therefore, you talking about the way cells change in different conditions.
But this stuff, well, I don't know if it's not smaller in the cell, but I think cells got something smaller inside of it to make it that.
I mean, only the other thing when you talking about like Earth as far as creating life is cells and bacteria.
Yeah.
So bacteria can exist outside of a cell. All the organisms that you consider to be alive on this planet, all have cells. So they all share that.
And bacteria, yeah.
But all bacteria don't. So
all bacteria don't what?
Don't have cells.
I never heard that.
So that's what I'm saying. Bacteria is the only thing that can exist that we know of without cells. Because they live in a different way. All the living organisms that we talking about today, that yourself included, you are a multi-cell organism. So if everything comes from cells on this planet, put cells in water, and that's the major ingredient. Everything we talking about today is basically a hydrogen-based life form. They are water-based life forms. Everything we talking about, from elephants to people, all water-based. Because water is the key component.
Cells need energy for sure.
But cells need something to feed off or something to latch to. Because once they latch to something else, they change. Until you get what you get today. Multi-cell organisms that go from fucking spiders to fucking giraffes. And everything in between. This is how...
Well, who tend to your cells?
Huh?
Who tend to your cells?
Your cells do.
Oh, not you eating food?
Yeah, but what I'm explaining to you is everything that you're talking about.
How many cells in your body?
Every organism has different amounts. What's the point?
I mean, I'm sure it's like at least 1 million when you take a piss, right? That you're just expelling cells right there, boom, bam. Right?
I don't know how much cells is in yours.
I'm sure it's a lot.
What I'm explaining to you is cells have a purpose, just like people do. They duplicate, they replicate.
And then they gonna ask you where God at? Your cells, they probably in there right now. Nigga look just like me, like yo, where God at, fam?
That's not their function. Your cells' function is not the question. Your cells' function is one thing and one thing only: to replicate, make more of themselves. That's what cells do. Just like that's what organisms do. Organisms' base primary function is to do everything to stay long enough to make more of themselves. Just like cells. That's why evolution is like a cell. You take one cell and it turns into 2 cells. You take 2 cells and it turns into 4 cells, 4 into 4,000, and so on and so forth. People and organisms as a whole is the same way. If you're talking about those wishy things you pull out of the ground, the white shit moving on, going to another spot so more wishy things can grow.
Dandelions, yeah.
Everything with a cell does the same thing. It replicates. Due to where it lives and what it is, it replicates in different ways. The most effective way of replication is sex. That's why all these animals have it. Because it's the most effective way to make more of themselves. They've been doing it so long that their bodies have orifices for each other to complete this process. But they all started out as cells. Remember.
And you had to battle with 1 million of your brothers and sisters just to get into your mom's egg.
Correct. You had to, sperm cells, right.
Again, yeah, for sure.
Everything starts with cells. So if you go back and talking about we can be a cell or a single cell organism and evolve into what we are today, but we can't be a different multi-cell organism, and it ain't us singularly, is us the species of. That's just they need to stop that argument. They need to stop saying, oh, that's Charles Darwin. Now that shit should be dead. You can tell me that we were once a fucking cell, but we can't be another organism. We couldn't evolve from another actual organism that's more closely related to us than than the original cells.
I think that's Plaid and Stripes.
But it's not. Because every other animal on this planet has shown a chain of that. And if that is Plaids and Stripes, how can you explain the other versions of us that are archaic that no longer exist?
They got beat out. That's what happened.
But I'm just saying, how can you explain those organisms if there's only ever been one human? If human is so exclusive that there's only ever been one version of human. There's no Neanderthals. There's no Denisovans. There's no Homo erectus. There's no Homo habilis. There's no what came before that, and Lucy and Proconsul and all that. None of that's real. There was only ever us. We're the only organism on this fucking planet that don't have different variations of itself.
I mean, I live in an apartment, so there's a lot of different variations of the original.
Like that. I'm talking about lions ain't tigers. But you can look at both of them, and even if you ain't want to look at them, you can do certain tests that will prove they work almost exactly identical. No matter how they look, they work almost exactly identical as far as retractable claws, canine teeth, eyesight, when they eat. Most of that shit, they do exactly the same. Now, you want me to believe that that's coincidence and they're not variations of an archaic creature that was just like them. That's what you're saying with people. You're saying that people woke up at Homo sapien, that we had no evolutionary path and we didn't have to change from smaller organisms until the great complex organism that we are today. Somebody created us as is, or we was just as is. That means that we didn't evolve.
Oh, my story say we was created, but all right.
Yeah, but all right. What are those stories?
The one in Africa that I was telling you about.
Africa say we was created.
I told you first that it was the guys with the long hair. I'm going to have to go through this slow.
Who created the guys with the long hair?
That I don't know.
So how
I can have my own theories.
Created us, but you can't assert nobody created them. That's the whole problem with creationist theory.
Nah, who knows where they came from? Who would know that?
Who created the creator?
They could have came on spaceships. They could have came from underground.
Okay, so if they came on spaceships, who created the beings that came on spaceships? Since we know that there was a complex being that came on a spaceship that created us, who created that complex being that's obviously a more complex being? And that's where the theory falls through.
No, it don't.
Yes, it does, because it's infinite. You will find 1 million creators because each organism will be created by a more complex organism, therefore showing you there is no God. There is no one omnipotent creature. Because exactly, because you're implying that complex design only comes from a creator.
Yeah.
Okay, so if complex design only comes from a creator, who created the creator of us? Because you said complex design only comes from a creator. If we have a creator, he must have a creator that's more complex than him. And so on and so forth, and so it's the infinite argument.
Yeah.
It don't work. It doesn't.
That's why it's not worth it half the time.
It doesn't pan out. No, that's what I'm saying. That's why nobody can assert that somebody created or something created the universe or any one thing. Why? How do we know it's not a mixture of...
Well, we need to be creating some better laws out here. That's what it is.
Yeah, and I agree with you. But at the same time, me and you have no evidence that we're the only version of ourselves. That's for people who want to believe the non-scientific rhetoric. People who want religion to be true will tell you that, oh, that can't be right. We couldn't evolve from no fucking monkey. We couldn't evolve from no ape. But are you listening to what they saying? They saying that there's a whole genus full of creatures that are like you that evolved from apes. And those creatures, a whole genus full of creatures that we would call old world apes that evolved from monkeys. So you and monkeys are not that closely related. It's not even close. The organisms in which you evolved from apes, and those organisms evolved from monkeys. But you never were a monkey. How is that hard to understand? When lions and tigers are different, but they're the same. There were creatures like us who would be the lion or the tiger or the jaguar or the leopard to us. Some older, none newer. We were the last. We wiped the rest of them out, us and whatever happened on Earth. Wiped the rest of them out. Now we're the last one left, and we're trying to say that some creator created us in some special image or made us special because we live differently than the other organisms on the same planet. Created in God's image, God, according to these people, created everything, but magma would annihilate us. One earthquake, if this planet explodes, we can't breathe in outer space. God can. We cannot be created in his image. He creates planets. We live on planets. We cannot be created in his image. It's more reasonable that we evolved from creatures that lived on the same planet as us than a creature or a being that controls everything in the universe created us special because we have a concept of him or it. We built that concept when we built it. What if monkeys have a concept of some higher power? What if cats do? But we don't understand their language. We don't understand their thoughts. It's not a very sound argument.
It's not.
So the best thing to be is an atheist, to not believe in that shit until somebody shows you proof of it. Not to be arguing with people and telling them, oh, well, Jesus
well, once the fear, so they put the fear of God in them, then
they put the fear of man, of lying-ass man in them.
Yeah.
I told you that a creature that was super strong, or a being that created everything and can make everything stop, it will get mad at you if you don't do X, Y, and Z.
Omnipotent being. I don't know nothing about all that.
That just means all-powerful.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. How much power would you have to create the universe? Not a solar system, not one galaxy, but the
Well,
universe.
your dad, the only thing he needed is one drop of that the semen. And then he created like a whole universe inside. Like, but I know you don't get that.
No, because that would be saying that the creator...
Your body got many galaxies in it, bro. Like, do you understand that?
That's not literal.
It is literal, my nigga. You don't get it.
It's not literal.
A cell is small, bro.
I understand. The concept that you're portraying is that cells and universes, or galaxies are made up of cells in different states.
There you go.
Okay, but the cell that you use is not the same cell and has never been in that state. The cells in space can survive without oxygen. There's not a... I
mean, you got cells with rings around them. You got cells with double rings around them, triple rings and shit.
We're talking about the state of the cell.
Moons.
We're talking about the state of the cell. A moon is off of a planet. You're not a planet. You live in a planet.
Your cells got moons, bro. Come on, you got shit that resemble moons, bro.
Your cells aren't big enough. Your cells aren't big enough to have moons.
Oh, my God.
The cells in space might be big enough, but your cells aren't. Your cells aren't big enough to have elephants in them, let alone moons.
Go look at different cells that's in a human body, my man.
But because you share cells with something, don't mean that you have the same organism in you.
You want to have cells with two nucleuses and shit? Like, stop it, bro.
The organism is a result of the cells in a specific situation. If your body may have cells, that's a plural word, cells. Your body has cells, space has cells. But the cells in your body, there's no evidence that have ever been exposed to what the cells in space have been exposed to. Cells change off of their conditions, what they're exposed to. So if one is like Saturn or Jupiter, a gas giant.
They many solar systems, my man. I don't know how many ways I can tell you that.
They one planet within one solar system.
It's stuff that live on top of these cells and everything, bro. You tripping, man.
No, I'm not tripping because the solar system is made up. The universe is made up of galaxies. There are far more galaxies, Paco, than we know of. We don't know how many galaxies there are. We only know...
You know what else is crazy? If a cell travels in a certain place in your body, it becomes cancer. Never thought about that. That's kind of wild.
I mean, I don't know much about cancer, but I don't know enough to say nothing about that.
That's kind of what it is, like a cell going from one spot to another.
There's good cells and bad cells, because cells react...
Yeah, for sure.
So cells react to different things different ways. And that's the
shit, some cells die off because niggas get stupider. It's a lot of different things.
Species go extinct. Exactly. Cells and evolution are the same. They do the same exact thing.
For sure.
Like I said, I'm a fucking genius. I created that shit, D.
No, you did not. That's a scientific... I'm done.
Show it to me, Pop.
I ain't create nothing I ever told you, but all of a sudden you created that.
I'm the first person
That's crazy.
ever said that evolution and cells is the same. I'm the first
evolution and cells are the same.
Yes, that cells
evolve.
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying evolution. If you want to teach somebody what evolution is, all you got to do is teach them what cells do. Cells change under different conditions and they replicate. That's what evolution is. You can take any one organism and put it in 3 different places. One place is freezing cold, one place is a desert, the other place is a grassy lowland. Each one, over time, will have different variations to suit where he lives, how he lives, and what he eats. And in certain situations, who he procreates with.
It's proof that when you look at a cell in a microscope, it changes what it does, bro.
And that's exactly what organisms do. Cells, you can explain evolution by explaining cells, by explaining what cells do. If I introduce a cell into a new environment, like a desert, and it was in the water, the cell might die, like you just said. So all cells can't live in all situations. If I take a mammal from the land and put it in a deep ocean, it'll drown and sink because it can't swim that distance, because it can't breathe underwater. This is the mutation of cells. Cells that have been on land so long that they cannot breathe underwater. And there are cells that have been underwater so long that they cannot breathe on land. This is the same. This is how you explain evolution to people who don't understand it. And I ain't never heard nobody say this till me. Try it again. I didn't get this from nobody.
Evolution, you gonna get hurt, yo.
I ain't get this.
They gonna lay you down, bro.
Nobody.
Somebody gonna lay you down with information real slow.
How?
It's gonna be bad.
How? Explain the whole.
Because that's fact. Like because cells are cells, bro. They is all different.
That cells aren't cells. What I'm saying that for people who don't believe, creationists and religious folks who don't believe evolution is real and say that evolution can't exist, then explain cells to me.
But cells aren't evolution, they just evolve.
No, cells is how you explain evolution to people who don't believe it exists. If I can take a cell, which is less than a single-cell organism, which is less than a multi-cell organism, we're talking about the complexity of changes in cells right now. A cell single by itself. Then you have a single-cell organism. This is now an organism that is based around the cell nucleus. That is how it is now an organism. Now you have multi-cell organisms. Now when you talk about Earth, you have multiple multi-cell organisms. Elephant, apes, felids, canids, human beings, mouse, spiders, insects. These are multi-cell organisms where multiple cells make up what they are. My point is this. You put cells in different situations and you get all these different multi-cell organisms. That is evolution. That is the proof of evolution.
So you took it beyond melanin. You just said cells now. The cells.
It's evolution. I said melanin. If you was defining God,
cells is life. So I do get that. That's why I try to tell people they have so many cells that they don't even understand. They don't even understand.
Cells prove evolution. Cells actually prove evolution. How do you explain a polar bear, a grizzly bear, a Kodiak bear, and a black bear? How do you explain the North American black bear and the Eurasian black bear? Or the
cells morph into your heart, your blood, your kidneys.
Create these things.
Yeah, exactly.
They're created. They're made up of multiple cells. That's how that's what these organisms are made. That's what tissue is made up of. Multiple cells.
Absolutely.
You're a multi-cell organism, and you have chemicals with these cells. Now, when you mix these chemicals with these cells for this amount of million years, with the special variations from different archaic ancestors, you get you. You are a perfect cocktail that took millions, if you want to go all the way back to the beginning, hundreds of billions of years to create. The earth had to go through different changes. Different animals had to be introduced to different situations for you to get how you are today. All that had to take place for you to be the person. Homo habilis had to start using tools and being more effective with killing shit and eating more and living longer and creating more offspring. And his offspring would create more offspring. Therefore, creating more offspring, you start to get crowded. You start to get migration. Members of the same exact organism that go different places and expose themselves to different situations, eating different foods, hunting for your food a different way, living in a different climate. If you travel to another part of the world, you might now wake up at a different time and live your natural life, all of it, in a different time zone than another organism that lives in Africa if you live in North America. This is just the facts. So this is why you can trace certain rabbits back to the same rabbit, but they can't even mix with each other because they've been divergent from each other for so long.
You know, every human being is a miracle.
Is a what?
A miracle.
That's not
a miracle.
A miracle according to who?
A miracle according to you.
No.
Yes.
Mm-mm. Where did you get that from?
Because in the body it's 1 million cells, and when your dad spit out to your mom, there's 1 billion cells running to one egg, one big cell, one cluster of big cells.
My G. So now let me show you how the example you just gave me is not exclusive. That's the same thing with all mammals, cuz. From elephants to giraffes.
And they all blessed. They all blessed. That's why Peter goes. That's why Peter cut your neck, nigga. That's why. That's why Peter flip on you, nigga. Peter? That's why Peter flip on you, because everything is sacred. Do you understand me? Do you understand?
No.
All right, well, there you go. There goes. I put you on the knowledge. I put you on knowledge. That's it.
How when I can show other organisms like shrews that...
Because I don't got to see, bro. I can see Frederick right now. It could have been it's 1 million different niggas.
That's just
it's 1 million different niggas I could have met except Brock. Do you understand me?
Bring it to me.
From your pops.
But that's chance, brother. That's chance. That's chance of when you live with your parents.
What is life? What is life?
And that's what I'm saying to you. If life is chance, then how come the universe had to have a grand designer?
Why he designed it.
Who designed it?
That man you can't see. That's smaller than small and bigger than big. That guy.
So if he designed it, my question is this. If he designed it, then why in the fucking world didn't he just start with us when no other fucking hominid ever worshipped him? Why would he let those hominids and those other why let the elephant exist when the elephant can't follow his rule?
Because some miracles got brains and they can
They got a brain too.
Yeah, they eat leaves and peanuts and shit. Yeah. Running herds.
You are so ignorant and sad. Elephants.
I'm telling you how ignorant. You called me ignorant, and
everything, dog.
And I broke it down for you.
Elephants born they young. They dead.
Do you or do you not have a trillion cells in your body? Yes or no?
I don't think you have that many, but you have a lot of cells. Yes.
Boom. Look it up. All you gotta do is put how many cells in the human body. Bow.
It's the only organism that got a lot of cells in your body.
There's not even 1 trillion people on this earth. Get your ass out of here. Come here.
Yeah, but an elephant probably got more cells than you. What does that mean?
You talking about cells. I'm telling you what you housing.
I'm explaining to you as cells is the key to life on Earth as we know it.
I was in science class, bro. I know what you housing.
What I'm saying is this. If I can give credit to life on this planet to cells.
Honestly, man, that white girl is the smartest in the fucking vote when it came to science. So I really don't understand what you're saying.
If you're so smart in science, then you should be evolutionary literate. You should understand that evolution is damn near a fact. It's a science.
I mean, they throw in evolutionary once in a while, but that's not the basis of nothing.
Either you can prove it or you can't prove it.
That's not the basis of nothing. I'm looking at the shit in the microscopes. It ain't got nothing to do with evolution.
So, yes, it does. How do cells...
So me looking at cells and owl poop, it got to do with Darwin too now.
It ain't got nothing to do with it. But birds can have something to do with it. What's the difference between a falcon, a hawk, and an eagle?
Me making a damn volcano, that right there, that got to do with Darwin too.
But now you're talking about geology. You're not talking about evolution. You're talking about the Earth and the study of its features and rocks. That's what you're talking about.
None of it got to do with him.
But yeah,
but you wanna equate it all to him.
No, but I never did that. I've said to you on multiple occasions, and it's recorded, that Charles Darwin didn't create evolution. Darwin created the theory of natural selection, survival of the fittest. He didn't create evolution. They said, well, why do organisms evolve differently? That was the question that was asked. And Darwin came up with a theory called natural selection, or survival of the fittest. If this organism and that organism are the same, but this one lives in a freezing cold, and this one lives in a perfect tropic where fruit just falls off the tree, the one that lives in the tropic might eat better, therefore he can live longer, therefore he can create more of himself. Creating more of himself gives his species the opportunity to create more of themselves. The more of them they create, the more territory they can take. The more territory they can take, the more offspring they can have, and so on and so forth. So when you look at black people who are somewhat not undisturbed, but disturbed only after they had been procreating for so long in Africa, you have the only place on earth with a billion black people in it. There's a reason for that. Because they have.
That's where a bunch of people stayed, but okay, I got you. Okay.
I'm not saying that every group of people in Africa come from Africa, but we can use that same logic with everywhere. Everybody in America don't come from America originally, so their number would be how small if we singled out one group of people. The only way it would be large, and let's remember, it's not as large as the number of people in Europe, so it can't be as big as the number in Africa. Because the number in Europe is more white folks than in the Americas. So the white folks will probably be the largest majority of the population if you combine both Americas and Canada. And that's the issue. If you have more white folks here than you have any other single group of people, black people or Asians, if you have more white people here, and that's not even comparable to the number of whites in Europe, just like the number of blacks in America is not comparable to the number of blacks in Africa. This is how you create a diaspora, just like Asians. Asians are in multiple places all over the earth, but we can tell that they came from Asia at some point because the mass majority of their closest related relatives or subspecies come from that continent. So we can have Chinese people in America. We can have Korean people wherever they are. We can have Japanese people. But for them to be that exact mix, they would have to come from the larger group of that people. So if you have 2,000 Japanese people in Australia, or 10,000, that's still not comparable to the number of Japanese people in Japan. Therefore, we know that they come from Japan. You can do the same thing with black people. You can do the same thing with white people. Now, if I say mestizo, well, mestizo is something that primarily happens in America and somewhat happens in Europe. So where would the largest number of mestizo people come from? If I was using that as my point, it would be South America, because that's where the largest number of mestizo people was produced. You can do it with anybody. If I find a Taino Indian in Asia, I find 100 Taino Indians in Asia. That would tell me that Taino Indians came to Asia. Why? Because there was more Taino Indians in Puerto Rico and South America than there is in Asia.
That don't mean it came from there though. But go ahead.
It would, because the numbers support the math works out. The math will work out. If they came from the other place, how long could they have been there for there only to be X amount there? For there only to be 1,000 or 2,000. How little bit of time would they had to have spent there for them to only have 2,000 of themselves? Yes, other things can occur, but that can't be explained for every population on Earth, that somebody came and killed them, or they died out from a famine. Yes, that has happened. But Charles Darwin proposes that natural selection means we more so out-competed other members of the Homo genus than...
Man, bring me your kings, man. I'm about to fold them all up like a fucking blanket.
I don't have no king. My king is science.
Them Darwin niggas, your Darwin kings.
Yeah, but
I fold them up like a blanket, bro.
I care less about...
I done folded you up, but you just don't listen.
I care less about...
So I'll fold up somebody that really got some science behind them.
What I'm explaining to you is this. When it comes to natural selection, I care far less about why cells change, more so that what they change into. I could care less about why cells change, and that's the question that Charles Darwin was answering. Fine, whatever.